So in this video, I'm going to take some time and recap my thoughts from Apple's WWDC event yesterday. I want to note up front, this is the second time that I've recorded this video, and the first take was 45 minutes. So I'm going to really try to make things a lot quicker, so if I end up forgetting something, my apologies. Excuse me, let's just get into it. So the biggest thing, in my view, actually there's going to be something big in each software category and something big in hardware. And again, these are all my thoughts. A lot of people have done recaps of this, pros and cons. You can take a look for yourself. Now I want to say up front, there's going to be a subscriber or two of mine that's going to watch, and they're going to say a lot of these features are already available in Android. I know they're available in Android, but here's the thing. I'm not really into the whole who outdid who thing. I'm more about who provides a more consistent experience, number one. Number two, just having that choice. If you really like iOS, you feel secure with iOS because Apple's really good at very clearly, very plainly explaining how their privacy practices work in such a way that anybody can understand it. If you like iOS, the fact that these features are coming to iOS is a real plus because it means you don't have to worry about learning a brand new platform. And a lot of people are saying, well, they're going to say these features are already available on Android. Unfortunately, unless you have a Samsung or one of the more well-known phones like the Google Pixel, not all Androids are created equal. In fact, I remember I was helping a friend of mine many years ago, and their Android was so far different from mine that I actually had to connect to their phone remotely through TeamViewer to figure out what was going on. Because they had all the Android phones had the same settings, but because of where they put them or how they were renamed, I had a hard time figuring out what was going on. So that's one of the things I like about iOS is the consistency. But again, I don't really care for who outsold who outdid who. Just the fact that you have the choice and that you can stay with iOS with these new features if you want to. Yeah. So, iOS 11. Big enhancement to me is files. Now, to me, this was the number one thing that iOS needed to compete with Windows tablets. Now, they did it just the way I suggested that they do too, and that is to make it easy enough for average users not to get confused, but powerful enough for power users like me to really be able to do stuff with it. And from what I saw in the demo, again, go to the website. You can take a look for yourself. This is just my thoughts. You can take a look at the keynotes. In my opinion, the way they executed files was awesome because it's easy to use yet powerful, and that's the sort of thing Apple's always been known for. Is anybody can use it, and I love that. Excuse me. Again, second take, so my voice is a little, yeah. So my apologies. New dock. It's going to be interesting from a voiceover perspective to see how this works because the dock is going to be available from anywhere. And to my knowledge, I don't believe a 4-finger swipe up from the bottom has been assigned. Now, a 4-finger swipe in from the right, or is it 3 fingers? No, it's 4 fingers. Switches apps as long as you manage to get the gesture right. For me, that's a bit hard to do. Anything more than 3 fingers is a bit tough. But now that we've got the new dock and also Windows, the app switcher has gone from a card view to a window view. I'm not sure if that 4-finger swipe in to switch between two apps is going to be. I don't know what they're going to do with that, if they're going to keep it and reorganize it, if they're going to add another gesture, or what they're going to do. So it'll be interesting to see from a voiceover perspective how this is carried out. But the dock is pretty much like the dock in macOS 10, or I should say macOS High Sierra. And yes, that's what they're calling the new operating system on the Mac. We will get to that in a moment. But the new dock is basically just like the one in the Mac. It's going to behave like the one in the Mac. In other words, you can put however many apps you want. It's going to have, on the right-hand side of the dock in OS 10, you've got things like the trash. You've got things like downloads, things like your pictures and other folders you access regularly. On iOS, they're going to use that same section as a predictor to load up apps that you use most often and they think they're going to use next. So new dock, new files. Big productivity boosts. Multitasking, you're going to have the ability to do more multitasking on the system. Again, it's going to be interesting to see how VoiceOver is going to handle this. My guess is it's going to be a double tap and hold to move around because you can literally place anything anywhere you want. You can even take stuff from the dock, like you could do a double tap and hold on Mail. Again, this is only a prediction. You could do a double tap and hold on Mail, slide it up, and place it into your apps view and have Mail and whatever that is, photos, or I guess that's photos, running at the same time. And I think, again, see the keynote for more details, because right now my mind is a little fuzzy. Anyway, big multitasking boost, drag and drop, same deal. Probably going to do a double tap and hold. Apple Pencil, I really don't care about that. I personally don't have an Apple Pencil. I don't intend to get one. A lot of these features for note-taking are related to Apple Pencil. Scan and sign. This is interesting because for people who are partially blind, obviously we'd like to read something before we sign it. But the PDF documents aren't always accessible. Electronic signatures aren't always accepted. And, you know, it can be a hassle. So being able to scan in the document, read it, and then sign it on the iPad, that's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Because I think that could be a real boon for, like, federal paperwork, for instance, being able to scan it in and not just read it, but also sign it on the iPad, and then you know, your teller could get their iPad and receive it. It would also save a lot of trees. Yeah, we'll just have to see how that works. QuickType keyboard, Android's had this for a while, I will admit, but again, I'm talking more about the fact that it is available on iOS. I don't care who's had it first. It's just nice to see. Augmented reality. Now, a really interesting use case I can see for this, and a lot of people are going to be touting Project Tango, are if you want to buy a piece of furniture and you're trying to figure out how well it's going to look in your home, especially if you're blind, and you're thinking, well, how can you see the furniture if you're blind? One of the big things in software that Apple's done is really made serious improvements to Siri. And what I'm hoping, and the keyword is hoping, this is wishful thinking based on what we've seen in the keynote and the announcements, but what would be nice is to be able to take a look at a piece of furniture and have Siri analyze it and analyze your room, and take a look and see, okay, you want to put the chair here. Let me look around and see, is this going to work? Is it going to look kind of meh? Is it going to blend in? Is it going to be a fashion disaster? That sort of thing. Big help right there. So I'd like to see that personally. It'll be interesting to see what happens. So Apple Pay, this would be cool, being able to take your Apple Pay credentials and give a person cash with that. Live photos, I don't really care about. Camera, again, don't really care about unless it's for OCR. An all-new App Store. I'll just have to wait and see how that's redesigned. Messages. I don't even use the apps in Messages. I used iMessage back when we had texting limitations, and they had a major plus because a lot of my friends had iPhones and still have iPhones, and you could text the iPhone for free. Nowadays, now that they're no longer charging for text messages, probably with the exception of prepaid plans, that advantage is moot. Siri. Again, we go back to the AR. combined with a possible bump in Siri intelligence, you can see where this is going. On-the-fly language translation, big, big, big. Love it. Because if you want to make a new friend who speaks another language, you no longer have to worry about fumbling through an app or Google Translate or trying to get that to work. The two of you can just speak to the iPhone. The iPhone will act as a translator back and forth between your languages, and hey, you may just have a new friend or a date. Who knows? So really, really nice there. I'm glad to see that, because that, to me, that allows for, you know, even greater connectivity within our global community. Again, AI increase increments in iOS 11. Apple Music, don't really use it, although I might in the future. Who knows? AirPlay 2, Home Sweet Sounding Home. If you already know what happened yesterday, then you already know where that's going. Control Center. Everything's going to be made available at once. I like that because you don't have to worry about flicking between pages anymore. Lock screen, I don't know. Do not disturb when driving. Again, it's the little things. The fact that Apple did this is a major plus. Being able to literally lock your iPhone when it knows you're going to be on the move when you're driving. Major lifesaver there, to be honest. I like that. I really like that. With iOS 11 comes a new iPad Pro, 10.5 inches. You can have up to 512 gigabytes of onboard storage, and it starts at 64. So again, 10.5-inch display. 120 hertz refresh rate, I don't care. Again, brightness, I don't care, because in my case, the lower it is, the better, because I am very glare sensitive. Multitasking, again, you can see we've got like messages floating over here, 2 separate pictures in a single app. Just fantastic. A10X Fusion chip with 64-bit architecture. 4K video, don't care about that. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how well this new iPad Pro performs. Next, macOS Sierra. Hi Sierra. The big thing for me in OS X High Sierra is the fact that they've done some under-the-hood improvements such that you can easily transfer over a large bulk group of files practically instantly. More files take up more applications take up less space. Siri is seeing the same sort of AI boost, greater security, you know, the whole drill. Me personally, just the fact that you can move apps, move files more quickly, big plus there. I'm really excited for that. The hardware on the Mac side, iMac Pro. This thing is a beast. 128 gigs of RAM, 4 terabytes of internal flash storage. That's how high it can go. You can go up to an 18-core Xeon processor. This is not for the consumer. This is not even for the prosumer. This is meant particularly for the professional market. I love the new Space Gray. It's going to be interesting to see how many industries pick this up. The asking price is $5,000, which from what I understand for what it is actually not bad. It's not cheap, obviously, but again, we're not looking at the consumer or even the prosumer. Whether a company will want to buy this remains to be seen, but it's going to be interesting. This thing is a monster. So, yeah. Supposedly, this is supposed to be an intermittent weight to the Mac Pro, the one that everybody calls the trash can that's been redesigned several years ago and never touched since. Supposedly, the rumor says this is supposed to be an intermittent weight since the new Mac Pro is going to be unveiled next year. But now that we have the iMac Pro, I'm wondering how many people will want a Mac Pro. WatchOS. The big takeaway for me here, Being a Disney fan, I love the fact that they put Woody and Jesse and Buzz on for Disney faces. It's going to be interesting because with the Mickey Mouse face, you double tap on Mickey, or you tap on Mickey and double tap if you're a voiceover user, and Mickey says the time. It'd be interesting to see if Woody, Buzz, and Jesse do the same thing, because I love that. Hearing Mickey announce the time reminded me of my talking Mickey Mouse watch from childhood. In terms of functionality, this can now communicate with select gym equipment, and that's big because if you're a voiceover user, the Apple Watch does have voiceover, and a lot of that gym equipment just isn't very accessible. It's got flat control panels, inaccessible LCDs. So if this can interact with the control panel, with the information on the bike, you may not be able to control it, but at the very least you'll be able to see your information. So that would be really nice. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. tvOS, the big thing for me is the fact that Amazon Video is coming to tvOS, but I don't even have an Apple TV, so whether this will get me to buy one, who knows? It might, because I can tell you that I've gone to using speech on my Fire TV stick, and it's sluggish. I do have the first generation. I will admit I do have the first generation, but in terms of screen reading accessibility, I've just found tvOS and Apple TV to be far smoother because it has the same kind of voiceover that is on the Mac and is on iOS. So we'll just have to see what happens. This is the big takeaway as far as hardware goes. Wasn't the iMac Pro all that significant? They've also gotten some speed increments and a lot of updates to the rest of the Mac line, particularly Kaby Lake processors. Okay, what we have here, for those of you who cannot see, it is a cylinder with a rounded top. It kind of looks like a marshmallow, if you can think about it like that. A marshmallow that is 6 inches wide by 7 inches tall and weighs about 5 pounds. This thing has 7 tweeters, a 4-inch sub, an Apple A8 processor, and Siri. No, it's not called the Siri speaker. No, it's not called the iMarshmallow. It's called HomePod. And this is interesting. I meditate. If I can, I try to meditate every day. And ambience, to me, plays a big role in my meditation. Being able to zone out to ocean waves or very, very mellow synth tracks is really nice. But my Amazon Tap, bless her artificial heart, sometimes is, I don't know what's going on. She's gone deaf. She's unfortunately gone deaf. Not all the time, but I've noticed that sometimes when I ask her something, she pauses so long it's almost like she didn't hear me. And she's losing her internet connection more and more. I just think that something's going on with her. I think that maybe she's getting tired. That being said, I will not pay the asking price for the HomePod, $349. It's steep, but at the same time, the Amazon Tap cannot do full room mapping other than going straight forward. Well, I should say straight forward in a 360-degree direction. It can't go up. Whereas with the intelligence of the Apple HomePod, this is supposed to be able to map your room. Okay? Map your room and therefore produce truly immersive audio. And for somebody who likes to escape, who likes to immerse themselves in ocean sound effects, I have a track that is underwater. Love that. Being able to map it in such a way that it literally fills the room as if you were actually underwater, for example, in your own room. Well, you get the picture. Big. Big, 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 big. So again, 7 tweeters, 4-inch sub, A8 processor. The other really big thing, again, is privacy. Apple was very upfront about this. Not only do they encrypt your transmission, but they also anonymize your device ID so they don't know what device it came from. I love that. I really do. I honestly, I love how Apple is so upfront and plain when it comes to their privacy policies. I remember on Charlie Rose on PBS several years ago, Tim Cook was very upfront in saying, he said, you, and he pointed to Charlie, basically meaning people, you are not our product. And he picked up an iPhone and he said, this is our product. We don't make money off of your data. We make money on giving you a more immersive experience. And if that means they have to track us in order to provide that better experience, then so be it, because as long as they're not selling my data, then I'm fine. And a lot of people are going to really cry foul now and yell at me because of my previous videos talking about how I use Google services more than I use Apple's. There's a reason for that. Google is a more open standard and is available everywhere, whereas Apple, until very recently, back when I first started my PhD, I was using Apple software, and I realized very quickly that I could not do my work efficiently using Apple's proprietary file formats and software because none of my other colleagues did, with the exception of one. One of my teachers was in the same Apple camp that I was. Nobody else was. And to have to do little things like convert your file format when you're done with a 10-page paper and you're tired and you want to get it in and it's the end of the semester, you see the problem. It's just easier to have a more universal kind of standard. That being said, the more I look at Apple, I'm really torn. I love my Pixel, but I've always held that Android has superior productivity features until iOS 11 with iPad. And I'm not saying, and you know what, just forget the superior inferior thing for a moment, okay? The point I'm trying to make is, in my experience, iOS and VoiceOver has always been more consistent in terms of accessibility. The built-in Braille keyboard in iOS is, always loved it. And the fact that Apple is taking one's privacy so seriously, and a lot of people are going to argue, oh no, they're not. I honestly have never had a problem with them. And the fact that they are upfront about it really makes things better. I'm loving this. I'm loving the HomePod. Whether I'll get one, I don't know. I love the marshmallow look. I love its capabilities on paper. It's not going to be out till the Christmas season, so we'll have to wait till then to get actual demos of the thing. I don't know. We'll have to see. But that's my thoughts on WWDC. Honestly, I love it. I love the HomePod. I love the interactivity between the Apple Watch and gym equipment. I love the new file system in iOS 11 for iPad Pro. That new iMac Pro is like a beast. It's going to be interesting to see how that does. So we'll have to see. And again, I don't care that they're catching up to Android. All I care about is the fact that they're giving you the choice. If you want to stay with Apple, you now have a more compelling reason to do so. What are your thoughts? Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.